You're listening to Radio Chatskill. I'm Tim Bruno. In Hancock, New York, a small storefront is carving out a big role in the local food and arts scene. All Sorts, a gift shop and cafe, has become a gathering place for residents and visitors by combining retail, coffee, and rotating food pop-ups that showcase regional chefs and makers. All Sorts is the subject of Eating Upstate today with Erin Shear.
I'm not sure why, everyone calls it a hidden gem, and I'm like, it's not hidden, but I guess it's a little bit off the beaten path. But Instagram has definitely that is, I think, how we're in business, just because of people discovering us online. And even Brooklyn customers and clients who have houses up here or vacation up here that have kind of followed along with our journey. I just think it's getting them in the door. A lot of people don't even know that I'm here, and I'll meet people that work in town that didn't even know there was a coffee shop in town. So I find that kind of confusing, but I think it's because out of towners, they're typing in their map coffee or lunch or gifts, and they're looking for something to stop at, whereas people who work and maybe are in their routine don't realize they don't walk Hancock. I find it very walkable, but because there aren't that many open storefronts, people aren't necessarily walking up and down the block.
That's Hannah Buonaguro describing the slow burn success of her store All Sorts, located in Hancock. All Sorts began as a store devoted to selling vintage items and provisions, but has since expanded to include coffee, baked goods, and cakes. It also hosts pop-up dinners as well as the occasional dinner service. This month, it celebrates its third anniversary. Buonaguro and All Sorts is the subject of today's Eating Upstate. Hannah Buonaguro grew up in northern New Jersey. After graduating from Simon's Rock College in the Berkshires, she spent the next 15 years working in New York City as a barista, a cafe manager, as well as working in vintage stores, and sometimes working as a cafe manager in a vintage store. She also hosted a Sunday night supper club that served vegetarian dishes. During the pandemic, she opened Your Other Left Ear, located in Fort Greene, Brooklyn.
So we opened a pop-up, and it was primarily vintage. There was no food component at all. And that was running, I was part of that for about 3 years. But during that time, we opened All Sorts and kind of added another state outpost. And then we added the cafe stuff back in. So kind of went from food industry, and then just retail to down back to retail and hospitality and food again. Yeah, for a while there was overlap, and I was back and forth from the city trying to get this going on the weekends and working in the city all week. But Your Other Left Ear was my original store, project space turned retail store, and now it's absorbed by All Sorts.
Even before the pandemic, Buonaguro had an interest in relocating to the Catskills. In 2022, she rented an apartment in Hancock and opened All Sorts in December of that year. For a while, Buonaguro operated both All Sorts and Your Other Left Ear simultaneously.
I think it happened a little faster than I expected, but I was glad to go with that. So when we opened it, we just didn't know it'd be such a food place, and it was it just became clear that that's what was needed, and that I would need to be here more days than just Friday through Sunday. And then I still did both for a while. I didn't have to be at the Brooklyn shop all the time. It was I would go down twice a month. And then ultimately I phased that out to just focus on All Sorts. I still have a big following, and people are still on that website ordering stuff. So I've now combined the websites. It's almost like Your Other Left Ear has just been absorbed by All Sorts.
All Sorts conducted its first pop-up in May of 2023, when they hosted a pizza pop-up on the weekends. This year, they hosted pop-ups by Outer Space, a pop-up kitchen devoted to Iranian cuisine with a Texan twist, and the Casa Masa Project, a pop-up hosted by Bethel resident Mercedes Golip.
I mean, I have mutuals with Mercedes as well as Layla, so they kind of knew about All Sorts. And Mercedes from Casa Masa Project, she reached out to me and asked if she could do the 4th of July weekend at All Sorts. So we spearheaded that together. That was my only pop-up in the summer, it turned out, just because we were open like 6 days a week. So it was just hard to do dinner pop-ups. And hers was, it was great, but it's just like a lot. And I wanted to have the store, like now at this point in time, it more easily adapts into a dinner spot at night because I've like made more space and cleared the areas more. Whereas in the summer, I still had a lot of retail in the shop and it was harder to turn over from like day to night service. But hers was amazing as far as like the food and the turnout. And it was in the summer, so we had outdoor seating actually. And then Layla and her partner Rand came to All Sorts, like I think it was last spring, and introduced themselves and said they wanted to do a sandwich pop-up. So then Layla ended up doing Saturday, Sunday's lunch, which was a little easier we had her in the kitchen doing breakfast and lunch sandwiches and bowls. And that became like a consistent thing where we worked together and she helped me up front whenever I needed help with the cafe, which was pretty often.
Mercedes Golip's The Casa Masa Project offers an interpretation of Venezuelan cuisine utilizing local ingredients. She relocated from New York City to Bethel in 2021 with the hopes of making more connections with the Catskills farming community. This past 4th of July weekend, Golip hosted a Casa Masa Project pop-up at All Sorts. Here she shares with me why she chose All Sorts to host her pop-up.
She wanted to have a series of pop-ups with different chefs from the area. And so we agreed on a date, and I had been at All Sorts before, but as a customer, and I found that place super charming, and just the vibes of like it feels like a living room, and you are surrounded by art and cookbooks and baked goods, and just Hannah's personality is also like super warm and cozy. So immediately when she mentioned that idea, I was absolutely on board. And it was a really good collaboration in the sense that I was able to, like, Hannah and I share the same ethos about like slow, local, handmade, reuse, recycle, like all of that stuff. So I was immediately in love with like all the farmers that like she sources the food from. I think I sourced most of it from her marketplace, and it was just like a natural and organic collaboration in a way. Like I felt very welcome at like it was like cooking at Hannah's home.
All Sorts sources their coffee from Rock Royal Farm in Walton and Big Mouth Coffee Roasters in Beacon. They source their tea from Tay Tea in Delhi and their meat from Catskill Smokehouse, also located in Delhi. For dinner services and pop-ups, they serve beer from Upward Brewing Company in Livingston Manor, wine from Behemoth, a winery located in the Finger Lakes in the town of Burdett, located in Schuyler County, as well as Deer Native Grapes, a winery based in Walton that was profiled by Eating Upstate in 2023. During the warmer months, All Sorts also hosts CSA and produce pickups from 607 CSA.
People can sign up for shares and pick up weekly, or they can just order a la carte. Like someone could order like butter and bacon and a loaf of bread. It's a little tricky because their pickup day is Tuesday. So like weekenders and people that aren't always here, like leave stuff with me until Thursday or Friday. But yeah, we do weekly shares, but then you can also just order whatever from, they work with so many different producers. So I've been getting that going more where people will order like yogurt or butter through the CSA.
Going forward, Buonaguro hopes to obtain a beer and liquor license to make it easier to host dinner service and other evening events. She also hopes to hire more help. Outside of All Sorts, you can see Buonaguro as an extra in the new movie Marty Supreme, scheduled to be released on Christmas Day.
Yeah, no, it's something I've actually been interested in from the start, but without having like the infrastructure with like staff and a fully built out kitchen, it's just been like, it's been just me kind of building it and incorporating food more and more and doing pop-ups to see how they go. And we had another one last night, and they seem to get better and better as far as turnout and people understanding like what it's about and what to expect. And I really like having the booze component. I think it's really nice to have like an evening place to gather, but it is kind of like a big leap where I would want to make sure I had regular like staff and cooks to actually accommodate having like evening food. I don't want to just serve what I serve at the cafe during the day at night, beer and wine. I want there to be, I have all the menus drawn out, but I would really want to take it to the next level and become a dinner spot. And I just don't, I just didn't want to bite off more than I could chew. And I'm in year 3 now, and I'm like, I think in the new year, this is what we're going to try to do. Yeah, that's new news. Cat's out of the bag. Yeah, we did like the casting. The casting director asked me to help cast people in Hancock, and a bunch of us ended up in it. And I was a little surprised to see my friend saw that I was in the trailer and texted me. So I'm excited to see that it comes out on Christmas.
All Sorts is located at 169 East Front Street in Hancock. I'm Erin Shear. Eating Upstate is a production of WJFF, Radio Catskill.
And thank you, Erin.